consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalyn Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business. Enjoy this light language activation as we begin to magnetize and monetize. Thank you so much, my loves, for tuning in. Hello, if this is your first time, I'm Rosalyn Fung. I'm so honored to have you choose to listen to this show. If you enjoy this episode, please do leave a review, take a screenshot of this podcast, and shout me out on social media so that more people can tune into this, especially this deeply important episode today. On Instagram, it's Bold Sexy Warrior, and on Facebook, it's Rosalyn Fung Coaching Bold Sexy Warrior. It would mean the world to me for you to take a few minutes to share and review this, as I would love to spread more love and consciousness, new perspectives to the world. I also want to share with you a new free guide I have created from witnessing many healers, lightworkers, and coaches struggling to monetize their spiritual gifts because they haven't quite accessed their inner permission to receive the financial prosperity that is their birthright. So I created this new freebie called SOULGASMIC Business Codes to help you unlock the 3 activation codes that allows healers, lightworkers, and coaches to activate inner permission to monetize on their calling. You can download this guide by going to www.thenumber7figureconfidence.com/soulgasmic. That's SOULGASMIC. All right, my loves, now on to this deeply important episode. I know that many of you may be struggling or know somebody that's struggling with fertility issues or menstrual diagnosis. Do you ever feel disempowered and lost on your journey into conception? And are you looking for hope, empowerment, joy, and pleasure as you try to create a life? Because we all know, those of us that have struggled with fertility, myself included, it's definitely a road of sadness and hopelessness and frustration. And then sex also feels like a chore, right? So if you're feeling really like, holy shit, I can really resonate with this, this is definitely an episode to tune in. Or if you know somebody, please do share this. You know, do you ever feel disconnected from your body and your cycle and are curious how to build a deeper connection to create balance and wellness? And for those of us that are entrepreneurs, how do you use your cycle and hormones as your superpower aligned with your business when it comes to activities such as speaking, launching your program, selling, putting on master classes? So join me today as I have a very special guest, one of my soulmate clients turned into a very dear friend, Kate Nguy. And Kate is the owner of She Revival. That's SHEE Revival. And she is a sacred womb and cycle educator, yoga therapist, and energy healer. She has a deep interest and enthusiasm for everything and anything that has to do with magic and mystery of the female body. One of her specialties is working with women who are struggling to conceive and to help them awaken their fertile self through their own inner wisdom and healing potential. It is her life's desire to help women to radically defy the stories they are told about their body in order to deepen their own connection to their inner wisdom. It's her passion to bring ancient wisdom to the modern body for deep, soulful healing and connection, and with an abundance of laughs along the way. And my loves, you are going to really receive a new way, a new awareness and perspective. That is our intention of this episode as we move into this topic that often is quite heavy. So let's welcome Kate. Hi, love.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. I'm just vibrating right now, and not with nervousness, but I'm so excited to geek out about the cycle right now. This is like my dream come true. How can I talk about the cycle?
I'm so excited to learn more with you. You guys, because Kate is one of my one-on-one clients, I learned so much from my clients, and it's so cool when we're WhatsApping each other. And the conversation, Kate's planning her like launch and her master classes and all her programs, and it's really interesting to listen to her speak because she's plans everything around different cycles, phases of her cycle. And so through that, I'm learning so much. We're laughing so hard. You talk about your conversations with your husband, Kate, and I'm like, why do you guys not have like a sitcom already? And we actually met because our mutual friend, and she was my one of my Reiki teachers, Timmy Harbaugh. She introduced us, and then it turns out when you signed up to work with me, I was like, wait a minute, we literally live 2 minutes away. We live in the same community. So it's so awesome to be able to have you so close to location-wise to me. So it's so fun. I love it.
It feels kind of weird to be like talking to you right now on this radio station when I know like I could probably be at your house in 5 minutes walking.
Right?
It's like, where's our coffee and our tea right now? Rosalyn, I want to add one thing to what you just said about, how I plan my business strategies around my cycle. And I'd just like to add that because I think this is like really important for some women to remember and to really start to embody is that, yes, I try my best to, but when I can't, when I just know that there's things that have to get done and it doesn't match with the energy of my cycle, it gives me this like deep appreciation and a forgiveness that I just can't be at all. Right. And so like for example, today showing up here, my vocabulary is probably not at sharpest because I'm not in that, inner spring, inner summer kind of season, which would be your follicular and your ovulation state. I'm getting close to my menstruation, but I knew I needed to do this. I was just like, I'm going to show up. But I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm not going to have the words coming as quickly, and I might not be as clever, but there's like this place where I'm just like, oh, well, I know that I can't be all that. And so I forgive myself, and I don't feel as crappy about it. Because, like when we get into these situations where we feel less than because we didn't show up the way that we should have, and then we beat ourselves up, or we start to think that we're not enough. And it's really just the energy of the cycle. And when we know that, man, there's like this deep forgiveness, and then we just have fun and joy. And that's the big key is like, how can we just appreciate where we're at and what we can give, and then just find the fun in that?
Oh my gosh, that's everything. So I would love for you, the audience, to breathe that in. Like, take into consideration what phase you're in. And Kate's going to dive in deeper with this to educate us even more. But that self-compassion is so important. And Kate, you were just on Corey Poirier's Blue Talks yesterday speaking. And one thing that you shared about this was how this also obviously applies to teen girls, and how, especially how delicate and sensitive it is at that age when we're just figuring out who we are and who we are in this world, and building our confidence and our self-esteem, and how much a cycle can actually play a part in our own self-doubt.
It's so true.
So profound. Can you speak to that again on this platform?
Yeah, no, for sure. Here's the thing, before we dive in like depth of that, I want women to know, I guess this is a nugget of advice here, is that in our lifespan, we have 3 major transitions that happen, 3 major energetic shifts that happen, where our body is experiencing a different surge of hormones, or the surge is creating a different response in our body that really is transformational. Like, these are 3 transition points in our life that are transformational. One is puberty, because this is the first time in a girl's life that all of a sudden she has brand new hormones starting to pulsate in her system that it's never recognized before. So her body literally is like, holy shit, what do I do with this? What is this? And this is why adolescent females can be difficult to deal with. So it's not because they're trying to be resistant. It's not because they're trying to be rebellious. It's because literally their whole body is like, I don't know what to do. And it really is like a fundamental shift. The next shift that we have is when we become mothers. That postnatal is the next transition, because now our body has had a suppression of hormones, and those hormones are now coming back into the body. So the body once again is like, whoa, what's going on here? And then the third time is menopause, because now the reverse is happening of what happened at puberty. Puberty, we have this new shock to our system, these shock paddles of bringing in these new hormones. And menopause, or perimenopause as we get closer to menopause, is this time where all of a sudden our body's going into shock, because it's like, where are these hormones? They're supposed to be surging because they've done this all the time for the last 20 or 30 years of our life. Where is this? And it's almost like it's going through a withdrawal, if you want to think of it. And so in society, we shame these transitions. In society, we either don't talk about them, or we put negative connotations to them, or we don't address them at all. And these are not personality things. These are endocrine system of the female body creating a reaction. And so we need to have a deeper appreciation and support each other through this. And let me tell you, when you acknowledge something, when you acknowledge anything, whether it's a heavy feeling or not, this is when we become more forgiving. This is when we actually feel a shift in our body, because then it's like, oh, I know what's going on. There's this education, this understanding. So to go back to what you're saying about the teens, it's a beautiful book if you're interested in reading something that's a little bit sciencey. It's called The Female Brain. And even though she's a doctor and she works with neuroscience, it is a really actually good and interesting read. It's by Luann Bresenbean, if I'm not butchering her name. And it was a beautiful rote book, because there's a whole section in there on puberty. And in there she talks about girls, and even if we think about ourselves as we start to regulate these hormones, when we're in the first half of our cycle, and even through ovulation, our vocabulary increases. Our ability to be quick and witty and to think on our toes is there because of that estrogen in our system. And so if we had a society that was built to really support the female body and to really help these young teens, we would be able to test them in schools, or to give them their opportunities for public speaking in their first half of their cycle, in that inner spring, inner summer season, because they have the vocabulary, they have the confidence. That estrogen is making them feeling like they're outgoing or they're outward with their energy. But if we test them when they're close to menstruation or during their menstruation, their brain is foggy. Just before menstruation, we have progesterone pulsating through us that makes us feel really sedated. It makes our thought process slower. And then as we go into menstruation, our body has a withdrawal of all hormones, because it needs to withdraw all hormones so that we have a flush. And so we can't think as quickly like we could in the first half of our cycle. So the likelihood of girls doing poorer on a test or on an oral presentation is way higher. And here's the thing, is with teens, we're still trying to self-identify. So if we're not supporting our youth and telling them about these surges and shifts and changes, then we're really doing a disservice to them. And we're wondering why, there's low self-esteem, or why, we're starting to see more and more mental health issues, is because we're not supporting these people, these young girls to say, hey, listen, it's okay that you were less than. It's okay that you got 55% on this test. Your hormones weren't there to help you. Like, you got 55% without hormone support. So high five you, right? And that's what we need to do, is we need to create an environment where not only our youth, but our women in the workforce feel supported and feel like they have an understanding of why things are happening, right? Because we are cyclical. We are transitioning every week with a new hormone cocktail, if you want to call it. And so things are constantly shifting in our body.
And thank you for sharing that. And I just feel so deeply important. Like, I've never heard of anyone before you speak to this. And I think it's so important. How would that have changed the trajectory of my own life had I known this when I was a teen? And today's teens, how would we as mothers, as parents, as fathers, just being able to know that and support that in a really different way? Wow. And as teachers, and oh my gosh, like, I'm just getting vibrating, feeling this expansion of perspective and awareness you're raising for others right now, Kate. Thank you.
Well, and if you think about it, Rosalyn, I don't know what your teen experience was, but for me, there's lots of pressures, peer pressure at that time. But I could honestly say, like, my parents had no idea where I was in the cycle. Like, it was something that I was shameful of. It was something like I hid my pads at the bottom of the garbage can so nobody could see them. Like, we're getting real talk here. But like, I hid that stuff. I didn't make it open. So how can my parents support me? Because I wasn't in an environment where we talked about this stuff. And
my gosh, yes. Yeah, I can identify with that. I mean, to be honest, I'm not super, until I met you and until I hired Lindsay Clunes for nutrition, and she also takes that into account, not to the same perspective that you do, but I'm not that aware of my period and just all of that. So I've learned a lot from you. So, you know, what we're going to do right now is we're going to move into commercial. And as we do that, I'm going to invite the audience to really reflect on this conversation so far. And when we come back, Kate, I would love for you to share your story, because it's a deeply important one. I know a lot of women can relate with it.
Sounds perfect.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Life is a flow, and enlightenment is simply harmonizing with the way life really is. Then you find that life is effortless, benevolent, and free of all suffering. Hey everyone, this is GP Walsh, and I want to invite you to my brand new radio show that's launching right here on OMTimes Radio called The Flow of Enlightenment. I've been a spiritual teacher for decades, and my greatest pleasure is being able to share with you these deep and highly practical spiritual ideas. So join me in The Flow every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and let yourself be transformed.
My loves, you know you're here as a soul-led leader to transform this world through the sharing of your passions and gifts. You are here to be in your warrior of light and align your business with your highest self. I'm Rosalyn Fung of the show Activate Your SOULGASMIC Business. Let's elevate your business to the next expansive level. I invite you to flow into a business soul alignment discovery call with me at rosalynfung.com. That's ROSALYN, fun as in have some fun,
Fung, and let's see how I can best hold space for you to align your highest self, magnetize your dream clients, and monetize on your soul mission. I can't wait to connect.
COVID-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Do you feel like your emotions are all over the place? That's normal during this abnormal time. There are a number of ways to cope. Maintain a healthy routine, get enough sleep, eat nutritious food, and exercise at least 30 minutes each day. Schedule some time to talk with a friend or family member. And remember, you can always take a few deep breaths to feel more centered.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
All right, welcome back, loves. Kate, I would love for you to take the time to share your journey with us and how you got to be who you are today and do what you do.
For sure. You know, it's interesting. Like when I look at my story, I almost feel like I have to go back a little bit further because I feel like there was signs of it early on. I was like this, you know, super perfectionist, high achiever, stressed out kid and teen. When I think about it, I was way too over responsible. And I often share about how like I took so much pride in people telling me that I was older than my age, that they always thought that I was older, which now, like knowing what I know, I was like, why didn't I just like be in the flow? Which really played into, you know, trying to be a high achiever career-wise. And then it's so funny because I was so stuck on like, I had to be a certain way. And now I'm a yoga teacher and energy healer. So it's kind of perfect. But when I really started to appreciate, or when I started to see a shift, and we always have these big shifts that challenge us in life to make us reflect and to redirect us and to become more authentically ourselves. And for me, it was when I hit fertility. When I had extreme fertility issues, I went through 3 ectopic pregnancies before I became successfully pregnant. And after my second ectopic pregnancy, I should share, like with my first one, it was something that we didn't know was happening. Everything kind of hit us really quickly. And I was rushed into surgery. I was about to rupture. Like it was the most intense moment of my life. And this is always like,
describe for those people who don't know, what is ectopic pregnancy?
For sure. So this is when you get pregnant and the egg implants into the tube, into your fallopian tube, which it can't. It's not that it can't. It can, which is why it's an ectopic pregnancy. But if it does, if your tube doesn't have the flexibility to grow. And so if it ruptures, you internally bleed and you can actually die from it. Yes, and so it's very serious. And so when I discovered, I didn't even know I was pregnant. I was having intense abdominal pain. I thought I was having appendicitis. So I left work just feeling nauseous and really feeling dizzy and gross. And I went in and they were like, you're pregnant, first of all. And second of all, you're going into surgery. So like, it was like, I couldn't even process the loss that was happening. And I wasn't like, I didn't even know, like, I couldn't process anything because I didn't even know I was pregnant. So it was like this really huge shift. And so, yeah, I went into surgery. I was sent home. I was in lots of pain the next day. And the very next day I went to work. This is the part that I want women to hear, is I went to work and I just told people I had a flu for 24 hours. I felt so ashamed that I couldn't talk about my fertility issues. Oh my God, I'm going to start crying again. I did this yesterday on the Blue Talk and now I'm going to start crying again. But I went to work and I didn't know how to cope with everything. Like I didn't know how to deal with loss. I didn't know how to deal with what just happened. So I just told everyone I was feeling sick. And I didn't know how to hold space for people to not know how to process that information. So I didn't tell family. I didn't tell friends. Like nobody knew about this until probably a few years ago when I finally outed myself. And my daughter's now 7. I outed myself. But yeah, so like there's this shame behind it. And ladies, if you're going through fertility, there is no shame. We need to start talking about this stuff, because here's the thing. When we talk about it, we shift dialogue. And when we shift the dialogue, we start to forgive and we start to connect with our body and we start to make things real. And that's when transformation happens. And so after that experience, like we just kind of were like in a freeze state for a while. And then we decided we wanted to actually try. We wanted a baby. And I was told that my other tube was perfectly fine. There was no issues, like not to worry about it, because they checked it out when they were doing surgery. And we were really shocked when we found out that we were pregnant. And I was told, well, not shocked that we found out that we were pregnant. We were trying. But I was told that I needed to go for an ultrasound right away just to make sure that history wasn't repeating itself. And when we did, they told us it was another ectopic pregnancy in the only remaining tube that I have. And I remember being completely shocked of like, but you said it was perfect. Like, how is this happening? And so we caught it early enough that I was able to take medicine to terminate the pregnancy, which, you know, we call it a termination of pregnancy, but that's no different than an abortion. It was just that it was a medically important abortion. And I never looked at it that way. And when you look at healing from abortion, it's some heavy shit. But nobody set me up that way. No one talked to me about it that way. So I just, once again, powered through life. It was just like, well, this happened. Although at that point, when the second one happened, it was like, that was my wake up call of like, something is imbalanced. Something is wrong in my life. What am I doing? And so to my husband's surprise, I quit my job. I quit a well-paying job that I was actually a shareholder in the company. And I was like, no, money's not worth it. I'm under too much stress. I love the people I work with, but I've got to make some major life changes and I don't know what it is, but I'm selling my shares and I'm getting out. And I remember, this is hilarious. I remember that when I announced it to HR, my husband was like, he was a little panicked of like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. But when I announced it to HR that, you know, I needed to quit, they literally called me in for a meeting with a bunch of them to say, do you have cancer? Is there something medically wrong? Because nobody makes this drastic of a decision. Like, there was no warning signs. Like, you were happy yesterday. Like, what's going on? And I was like, no, there's nothing wrong. I just need to reflect and figure out what's going on in my body. And so I quit my job, and, you know, the universe always gives you what you need. I left, I jumped, and I just trusted the bridge would build itself. And I landed like instantly a bunch of contract jobs. It was like, here's a month contract for this position. Here's a month contract. The money was coming in. Nothing was permanent, but it was a time for me to figure stuff out while feeling like I had the flexibility to figure out. It was really like serendipitous.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And Kate, was this when you were a social worker? Because I want to make that clear that Kate was to the audience that you have a clinical social work background as well. That's something we both have, clinical backgrounds. That's we have in common. Mm-hmm. I
fell into social work at a really, like, right out of university. I was working at a women's shelter while I was going through university, and there was like this deep calling to do it. But it was like Kate wanting to save the world. And so by Kate trying to save the world at that young of an age, I burnt myself out really quickly. And so I left. I traveled the world. I did some volunteer work in Africa, and I went to Japan for a month. I was just trying to do some soul searching. And then I came back with a huge debt. And when I came back with that debt, I just found a temp job that turned into a permanent 6-year job that paid well. And so I got comfortable is what I got. Yeah. And so then, you know, after my second ectopic pregnancy, my husband and I tried for a full year with no positive tests. And like, you know, getting pregnant so quickly and then all of a sudden not getting pregnant at all for a year was like, it was hard. It was emotionally draining. And so we finally went to the fertility clinic because you had to wait a year at that time before they would refer you. And so we went to the fertility clinic and they were like, well, you've had 2 ectopic pregnancies. Let's just remove that tube and that should solve the problem and we'll just do IVF. And I remember walking out of there and I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, you want to remove my body parts? I was just in this, like, there was no test done. There was no, like, we didn't even know the state of that tube. We just knew that there was an ectopic that happened. And I remember being like, this is not okay. And so that was my turning point where I knew energetically deep down in my DNA that I had to fix me. There was something deep, maybe a psychological barrier, but whatever it was, I had the power to fix it, and I was going to fix it. People were not just going to move my body parts because they didn't understand my womb, is what it came down to. And so, yeah, I went to work, and in that year, we got pregnant almost instantly after I had this like aha moment of I was going to do the work. And it was another ectopic pregnancy. And that one knocked the wind out of me, because it was like, but I'm doing the work. I don't get it. I did the work. I'm doing everything. I quit my job. I'm doing acupuncture. I'm researching, like I'm now teaching fertility yoga. Like, how did this happen again? And so honestly, I didn't feel like it wasn't a topic. It felt so different than the other ones. And I didn't have any pain or anything. And I remember being in the ultrasound room, and they were like, yeah, there's no heartbeat. It has to be an ectopic. And this is I can't remember if it was 6 or 7 weeks that they did that ultrasound. And I remember going to the room and being like, this isn't okay. I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not terminating this pregnancy. And I called my acupuncturist from the room. You gotta love when your team is ready to support you. And that's what I find with holistic medicine. They always show up just as you need them. And he was like, you know what? Let's do the conservative route and let's save the tube. And I was like, I need to sit with this for 24 hours. And I went home and I was like, I need a second opinion. So I went to another ultrasound place the next day, and the nurses or the techs were like, are you sure? Like, I honestly was in that waiting room for probably about 15 minutes, and 5 different people came to me to say, are you sure you want the second opinion? I remember feeling so disheartened that people weren't trusting my intuition, that people weren't listening to that I needed a second opinion before I just terminated what they thought was a nothing. And to me, it was a baby. It was something that I dreamed of for so long. And they were just like, it was passive to them. I was like, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be viable. So just get rid of it. It's no big deal. It was a piece of garbage. And I remember feeling so disheartened that I had to keep repeating myself to 5 different people. And even when they finally let me go in for the second opinion, the doctor just looked at it and was like, yeah, no, it's an ectopic. Just go to the hospital. Like, it was just, I was thrown aside. And so that was when my husband was like, let's just do the conservative route and we'll keep going, Kate. Like, we can keep doing this. And so, I did. I was heartbroken. I did. And this was a week before my wedding, 5 days before my wedding. And my wedding was in Canmore, in the mountains. And we live in Edmonton, so it's a 3-hour drive. And so we were going up 2 days before our wedding. So this was just like 3 days post-termination. Still really raw. Nobody knew what was going on. Like, nobody, my family, nobody. And this is probably the universe making me have to talk about it with people. Was on our way, and in between, if you aren't familiar with Alberta, Red Deer is kind of like the halfway mark. We were just coming up to Red Deer, and I was in so much pain that I almost passed out in the truck. Like, I was like, I couldn't breathe. The window was open. My husband was like in complete panic. So we rushed to the Red Deer Hospital. And they thought the medicine didn't work and that I was rupturing. And so they rushed me in, and it turned out that I had an ovarian cyst on my ovary that had bursted and was filling my whole abdominal cavity full of fluid, which meant that I was in like intense pain. And and now that I look back on it, I laugh because we spent like 6 hours in Emerge, and then we still continued on because I was like, I can't miss my wedding. And I had the best medical team at Red Deer. Like, shout out to the Red Deer Hospital, because they contacted Canmore, and they let the hospital know what was going on. And they're like, she has a wedding. She doesn't want to miss it. Here's her file. She might be coming to see you if she's in lots of pain, right? Like, I had these 2 hospitals that were willing to like cheer me on through my wedding. And so we continued on. And the next day we were supposed to go snowboarding with a bunch of friends, because the wedding was the next day after the snowboarding day. And my husband was like, you're not going. And I was like, I have to go. People will know. And so I still went snowboarding. I stayed on the bunny hill for the most part, but I still went. And my sister-in-law, because obviously we had to call family to say, hey, listen, we're not making it for supper tonight. We're at the hospital. So family knew, but that was it. No friends knew. And so I went snowboarding. I didn't go far. My sister-in-law, thankfully, was a nurse, so she kept a close eye on me because she thought I was crazy, which I was. Like, seriously, still in this denial of that I can't talk about fertility with people. And then I showed up at my wedding the next day high on T3s because I was in so much pain still, and nobody knew. I hear it from everybody that and this is, I share this story, because I want women to see, like, we need to talk about this. Like, now that I am 7 years post this experience, I look back and I was like, what were you thinking, Kate? Like, you needed people on your side. You could have still had your wedding, but people would have been able to hold that space for you instead of hiding about it. So ladies, stop hiding. If you need to, reach out to me and let's talk about it. Let's get real about it. But then, after that experience, I got married. I did one really deep womb healing experience, and I got pregnant within a month. And with that pregnancy, the doctors, once again, my whole medical team was like, you need to go for the ultrasound at 6 weeks so we can check it out. And I was like, no, I'm not going till 9-10 weeks. I'm going when I know that you guys can find a heartbeat, because I don't trust you. I don't trust the experience that happened last time, and I didn't like how it felt. And so I'm not going until then. And if I lose a tube, I lose a tube, but I'm trusting that this pregnancy is okay. And I shared yesterday, my husband was really, really hesitant in telling friends and family. And I told them, listen, I need to tell my friends. I need to tell my family, because I need to feel joy, excitement, and happiness about this pregnancy. I need to believe this is possible and not live in despair. And that pregnancy turns out to being viable. So, when we open ourselves up to having the support of others, I'm not worried about how we're going to hold space for them, but let them hold the space for us. We really can shift our healing journey. We really can change. And here's the thing. They did a test on my tube just before I got pregnant, and there was no scar tissue, no swelling. There was no signs of an ectopic pregnancy. The doctor even asked me, are you sure you had an ectopic pregnancy? And I was like, yes, I did. And so I had 2 in that tube. And I remember them just being shocked because there was no sign of it. So I healed my tube. I truly believe I healed that tube.
Wow, what I'm really hearing, thank you so much for sharing, Kate, is just how you really came into your power and tuned into your intuition at the deepest level and asserted yourself with using your voice. And I just feel like you probably see that with your clients too, how this journey calls upon us to go deeper into our own wisdom and then stand in our power. That is such a huge process.
My job.
I want to continue jamming, which we will. We're going to take a pause right now, move into break. And then when we come back, let's continue this journey and share a little bit more about how you dive deep with your clients.
Let's do it.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at OMTimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
If I could be you.
And you could be me. For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
All right, welcome back, love. So, Kate, please do share with us the rest of your story, and then I would love for you to share how people can work with you and all the different offerings you have.
For sure. That's pretty much my fertility story. I've gone on to having 3 children. I've had really complicated pregnancies as well. Like I've had an incompetent cervix, worried about losing the babies during pregnancy at the 20-week mark. And then I thrived. I have 3 beautiful children, even though that was not what, conventional medicine thought my story would be. And so, what I do now is I work with women who are struggling to conceive to give them hope, to give them inspiration, because I am the story. I am the example of how anything is possible. Magic is possible. We have to trust our gut. We have to listen. We have to help release some of the fear. And we have to have a community that understands and can support us through it. So that we have this trust and this ability to tap into our own inner wisdom. And so, I always feel a little weird saying coach. I feel like I'm a guide for these women to really find their fertile self in a way that feels good for them. And I work with both women that are, wanting to get pregnant naturally, and those that are like on the IVF, IUI route, which is completely okay. I'm not here to tell you which way. And it's funny because I even had a coaching call last night with a client, and she felt ashamed telling me that she really wants to do IVF. And I was like, listen, that's your choice. Own it. Feel good about it. And when you tell me about it, feel that vibration that it is what you need and what you want. I'm like, and then let's work with amplifying that of when you go in for that IVF, there's no room for doubt that it's not going to work. Right. And so I'm not here to tell you which way to go or that you should not do conventional medicine. In fact, I always share the story that my husband and I, there was a point where I was getting burnt out. I was getting burnt out of losses. You can only take so much grief before it gets too heavy. And we had a plan. We were going to try for 4 more months naturally. If that didn't work, then we were going to do 1 round of IVF because it was really important to him. And then if that didn't work, we were going straight to adoption because I, at that point, didn't care any longer about how that baby was coming to me. I just wanted the baby in my arms. So, it's whatever people want, right? And you know what? We got pregnant almost instantly after that conversation because we had a plan in place. We had a plan that vibrationally felt good. We were both on board. It was a decision that we made together, and we were powering ahead. We knew what we wanted. We knew what we were doing, and no one was getting in our way. So regardless if you're on the fence about IVF or you're like, I'm doing this because I want my baby, I'm here to support you in that. I am here to help you reframe your thinking so that there's no room for doubt and that you feel good screaming it from the rooftop of that's your choice, because it is your choice. And we don't have to understand why. We just want to know, we want a baby. So let's make that baby come to us. Let's call that baby in. So yeah, that's how I take my experience and my journey. And I really bring it to the fertility women in the community that how can we reframe? And I have an amazing coaching program, that, it was really birthed out of the experience of COVID. COVID does have all these beautiful silver linings. And, for me, it was to really, connect with the women that I was working with, understanding what they needed from me, and then making that exist. And so we have a beautiful online program that you can join for 3 or 6 months, and you get access to a private community of women that are going through this. It's called the Igniting Shakti program. And so it has 3 pillars. It has the community, which I think is essential when you're on this journey, because we want people to be able to connect, to relate, and to feel empowered. And, last night the person I was coaching was like, I was really worried about coming into the community, but instantly everyone was welcoming, and I felt so good about it. I felt like I was part of this program for months already. It's hard to believe I've only been here for a month. And so, the community is key in making us feel this sense of peace within the process. And then second pillar is that I teach you how to start to connect with your body by connecting with your cycle. There's yoga practices that are specifically designed for each stage of your cycle so that you know how to feed and nourish your body through movement, and you understand this deeper connection with the self. And then the third element is that we come together every week on Tuesday nights where we go through 4 different topics. So, and the 4 different lineup, I guess you could call it. And so week 1 is we talk about how to awaken our feminine self. How do we connect with this energy within us and our hormonal system? Week 2 is mindset and nidra, and then we stay on for a bit of tea afterwards. To connect as a community. And then third week is a practitioner comes on in our community so we can talk about, things that relate to fertility from a different perspective. And then fourth week is a support group where we just come on and we share how we're doing, we connect, and it's a really beautiful program and it is amazing. But then from there, so many of my clients, when they leave me, they're always like, what now? Like, I'm pregnant, I have a baby, I want to still work with you. So from that, I'm now birthing a new program that's launching tomorrow called the She Collective. And this is, once again, pre-recorded library of videos of how you can move with your cycle. We're going to have practitioner talks, so specialists coming on, teaching women about how to connect to their body. And then we are also going to have once a month kind of like tea time chat as ladies where you can come on and just chat. And this is a monthly membership. And so that's going to be launching tomorrow. So if you think that this is something that's really calling you, I encourage you to hop over to my website, sign up for my newsletter, because it's not completely done yet, but I feel like it needs to be released. It's going to be released with all its imperfections. And people that are on it are going to, or people that are on my newsletter tomorrow's newsletter, are going to get a special discount because it's not completely done. And so I want to honor all those people that are wanting to jump in and just be part of it. And so,
beautiful. Yes. Where do people go, Kate? Where do people
so my
go?
website, my website is She Collective, but it's not she as in gender. It is SHEE. That's the program is She Collective. My website is She Revival. It's SHEE revival.com. And she, just to help really anchor it into your body, stands for Sacred Healing Through Empowerment and Embodiment. And so that's what it stands for. And so, yes, sherevival.com is my website, 2 E's. And then the women's health program is called the She Collective, because we're coming together as a collective of women and we are changing this world by using the power of our menstrual cycle. And we are going to change the way that we show up for ourselves, and we're going to change the way of how the world expects us to show up. We are going to now start to pave that path. And then the fertility program, I know. I'm so excited about it, which is why I'm like, it has to get out with all its imperfections. And then the fertility program is Igniting Shakti. And you can find that by going just down the fertility programs tab. And then as soon as you go on there, there's the online program, and that will lead you right into all the information about it. So
beautiful.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Kate. So we are going to lead into our meditation. But before we do, you guys need to connect with Kate. Just even follow her on Instagram. It's Fertility Coach Kate. That's Kate with a Kate. And on Instagram, you can find her at Kate Nguy, Nguy. And her professional page is She Revival. It's She Revival, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, perfect. No, it totally is.
Okay.
And here's the thing, ladies, if you're kind of curious about what is she talking about with this cycle stuff, because man, I wish we had 2 more hours on here where I could really geek out. I want to say more. But if you go onto my Instagram or my Facebook business page, you're going to see that right now I'm taking women through my cycle and sharing my little wisdom drops that come to me each day as I'm shifting in hormones. So you'll see how, I don't feel the same each day, and that's because of the hormone shifts. So feel free to go and kind of read my little cycle journal, I guess, that I've been doing for this last month here.
That's right. And then every Sunday you have a Q&A on IGTV.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there's lots of ways to connect in with Kate.
Yes. So if you have any fertility questions, pop them in, because Sundays I go on live and I'll answer all those questions. So
beautiful. Okay, my love. So you are going to guide us through a meditation. I wanted to get all of that in to ensure people are like, where do we go? And so that now we can relax into the embodiment and empowerment of our own womb energy, no matter who we are. And then that'll take us out through the rest of the show. So take your time, Kate. We have about 7 minutes for the meditation. So when you're ready, and then just cue me for the light language.
Okay, for sure. And, you know, I work so well with visualization, so I'm going to take you guys on a little visualization journey. So if this feels a little different, it's because I want you to start to feel differently in that womb space. I want you to start to connect differently with it. It's not just the body part. It is our energy center. It is where all of our authentic truth and so much of who we are, like we create life in this space, but then we also birth our own identity. So this is like a life force. So with that being said, I'm going to invite you to find a comfortable seat. And I want you to place your feet on the floor. I really want people to ground into this, to feel rooted. When we feel rooted, we feel safe to explore. And with your feet connected to the earth, maybe gently closing your eyes if it feels safe to do so, or just having them at a soft gaze. And let's bring our right hand and let's place it on our low belly, like almost like below the belt, almost in those leg crease area there. And then let's bring our left hand and place it on our heart space. Remembering that there is a really special connection and energy line that runs from our womb to our heart and from our heart to our womb. They're in constant communication. Let's take a deep breath in all the way through that hand on the heart, and then keep moving all the way down into that hand on the womb. And then let's breathe out anything that needs to be breathed out. Let's do that 2 more times, really like just kind of clear what needs to be cleared. And now that we've cleaned and cleared our womb of any unserving thoughts, worries, let's begin to visualize this little tree. Let's see a little tree growing down into our womb space. And as we think of this tree, think of right at the base where the roots kind of connect, or the base of the tree connects with the grass. And then begin to see those roots growing even deeper down into the earth, really connecting us with that earth energy, really connecting us and anchoring us. And then breathe in this golden light from our roots all the way up into the center of that tree. And with that golden energy, that deep connected earth energy, begin to imagine that your tree now feels this desire to grow upwards to your heart. Rooting in the womb, stabilizing in the womb, but reaching up to this heart space where anything and everything is possible. And then maybe you can feel your tree swaying a little bit here. And then with your tree nice in its fullest version, imagine looking upwards and seeing this full moon above your head. And then breathe in like the moon is doing little sprinkles or sparkles of white light all the way through your tree and down to the grass to the base of your tree. And let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling in. And feel that moonlight sparkling all the way down, infusing itself into the tree. And then maybe as you continue to do this, Rosalyn, this might be a beautiful time to bring in this light language to like really anchor that moonlight into the tree.
Murakorati manakua manatia nakorati manakorati murakua mananakirati manati koratura marakaratua murakoratia barakia nakoratia muratia.
And then start to see yourself either sitting by your tree, maybe hugging your tree, but being in connection with your tree. And know that at any time of self-doubt, worry, uncertainty, you can come back to this tree. You can come back to this source of life and growth. That you are the essence of your own inner growth. Breathe that in. Breathe that in one more time. And then slowly blink your eyes open.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing you and your gifts and your wisdom with us today. I so know that there is so many souls that needed to hear this and learn and expand their awareness.
And I think, Rosalyn, we need to do 2.0 where we talk more about women's cycles later on.
Yes, please. Thank you, love.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll see you guys in Kate's Collective for those of you who are feeling called. Go to sherevival.com.